that the manifestation really doesn't mean diddly squat? Can you let go of what is right now? Can you accept that what is the magnificent bouncing off place, but where it's at, because the larger part of you has already gone there, is to a vibration that hasn't manifested yet? And if you can just hear us and believe that and look in the direction of the vibration that has not yet manifested, that stream will carry you. It will fill you with well-being. It will fill you with a feeling of adventure and enlivenment, and the manifestations will come barreling into your experience too. In other words, if you could just let go of what is, because it is only attention to what is. In other words, you can't tune to the frequency of the vibrational reality and the frequency of the reality at the same time. They are different frequencies. And there are people who would rightly say, but Abraham, there are things in my current reality that are vibrationally up to speed to the things that are in my vibrational reality. In other words, there's a lot of good stuff in my life. Couldn't I focus on it and still be a match to what's going on here? And we say, yes, of course you can. You could be such a good selective sifter that you just look at the best parts of reality and therefore tune yourself to the best parts of your vibrational reality. But it's the hard way to go about it, because in that sifting and sorting, you've got the pros and the cons, the pluses and the minuses, and it bogs your vibration down. If you could just be forward looking, if you could talk about where you're going and who you really are, if you could talk about how you want to feel, if you could talk about the big picture, if you could talk about your eternal nature, if you could talk about how things always work out for you, if you could talk about how the universal forces are already have already gathered the cooperative components. Look at the big picture and look toward the big picture and think about the big picture and speak about the big picture, and never look back to the reason that you ask for the big picture, because the reason that you ask for the big picture is a different vibration than the big picture. Does that make sense to you? And when you spend time in this vibrational vortex as you have, things begin manifesting. But you're talking about the reality that is manifested, and that's just fine. And when a reality is manifested that is really pleasing you, that's just fine. But we want you, for this segment, not to feel the least bit uncomfortable about talking about what would seem to much of the world like the delusional vibrational reality. Because we want what you have formerly called Abraham's present tense, which is my future tense, and therefore delusional by standards of most people who are looking at it. We want you to become comfortable with the delusion of a vibrational reality, because everything that you want is there, and when you tune yourself to it, then of course it morphs into the things that you're talking about. All right, can you feel the difference in what we're talking about here just a little bit? In other words, we love that you love your life. We do. But we are making the point that there is more than that which you are living in your vibration reality, and we're trying to get you to stretch. In other words, there are many people that would be stretching to what is your reality, but you can't stop. You have gone far beyond your reality. That's the thing that we want you to understand. There are people with terrible lives that have a much better one in their vibrational reality. There are people with magnificent lives that have a much better one in their vibrational reality. And when and only when you tune yourself to your vibrational reality, you have that hair blowing back sensation of moving in the current that is natural to you, you see. So in your vortex, where everything has been culminating, what's in there? In other words, what's in there? Now we want you to reach for those things that are in the vortex that aren't necessarily in your life experience. Let's make it more tangible, still future tense by manifestational standards, but present tense by vibrational standards. What's in there for you that you would like to talk about? This vortex has such purity and clarity and absence of resistance that if you're not used to it, you're dragging some of that other stuff in there. But it sticks out like a sore thumb, doesn't it? So your vortex has freedom, and just be gentle about it so that you're not overcoming something with your statement of freedom. In other words, that's what this conversation is about. This is fine-tuning, isn't it? In my vortex, I feel well-being. I feel clarity, and I know what to do. In my vortex, there's a certainty about me that I just love. I love the feeling of knowing exactly which way I'm going and what I'm wanting. I love the feeling of universal forces already having gathered things, and I love the discovery that I get yet to experience inside the vortex. It's an interesting juxtaposition of knowing that there is more to discover and being certain that the discovery will be mine. I love the realization that the perfect unfolding is happening for me and that there's nothing that I need to do about it. I don't have to make this happen, and I don't have to fix broken things. I just have to relax into the inevitability of my well-being. We have enjoyed this interaction immensely. It's interesting because now we've spent some time in the vortex, and you've witnessed several people in perfect alignment with that which is their vortex. Do you feel a diffusion of anything that has been troubling in your experience? Does it feel to you as if the problems that are responsible for the creation of this vortex have now served their purpose, and now you're ready to give your undivided attention to what's in the vortex? Do you think that we could just stay in the vibrational patterning that you have all achieved? Do you think that we could stay here and sustain life experience just by talking about life from inside the vortex? Then you'd be wrong. It's a trick question. What we want you to reach for is, can you feel a sense of poignancy that comes from both sides of the equation? In other words, can't you feel that after a while, this vortex, good as it is, and as much as you feel it, needs a little beefing up? And aren't you sort of willing to maybe leave the vortex long enough to find another question to which you seek an answer, to find another problem to which you seek a solution, because it is in that movement into the vortex that your real life becomes. In other words, some might say, oh, Abraham's going to open up a discussion where people can talk about being in the vortex, and the line's going to be out the door and around the block. It will never come to an end. But it did. Did you see it peter out? In other words, this is the power of what contrast does. Contrast keeps putting the stuff back into your vortex. And it is our promise to you, friends, you get your greatest lift from life moving into the vortex, not getting in and staying there. So what you want to do is stay in there long enough to understand the vibration of it. Stay in there long enough to feel the power and the clarity of it. And then from your place of knowing how easy it is to get in there anytime you want, to dive headlong into the contrasts that surround you for the purpose of ferreting out the expansion that you were born to discover. Are you getting what we're talking about? Because if it is not for the contrast that gives birth to the expansion, there could not be the movement into it, and it is the movement into it that really is the sweetness of life that so many of you are wanting to find. It all fits together so magnificently. You knew when you made the decision to come forth into this physical body that the diversity that surrounds you would help you to focus. And this has been a magnificent day of deliberately focusing energy. We have been so satisfied in listening to the words that you have been choosing. And what we always do, we listen with specific ear to the words that you speak in conjunction with the vibration that you're offering. And one of the things that we have found to be very exhilarating here today is so many of you speaking the vibration that you really are feeling. In other words, it is so satisfying to find you speaking what you know. And it is also satisfying to find you knowing what you know from inside the vortex. It feels to us that this gathering has reached a place of conclusion. Does it feel that way to you? From inside the vortex, life on planet Earth is at the most secure and stable state that it has ever been, and becoming more so. From inside the vortex, there is not anything on the planet that is broken that needs to be fixed. But there are endless things that could be improved, which makes it a continual, inspiring place for expansion. From inside the vortex, the well-being that is dominant is understood even on a physical level. From inside the vortex, generations that are from your physical experience yet to be lived and still to come are understood completely and known as satisfying experiences that hundreds and thousands of future generations will experience right here in this time, space, reality. From inside the vortex, the imbalance that is being experienced in regards to economics and in regards to ecology and in regards to physical physiology, from inside the vortex, the improvement and the expansion that has been asked for is substantial enough to sustain you for more time than you have yet experienced on this planet. In other words, the eternalness that stretches out before you is something that you can count on in a physical sense here in this physical time-space reality. What we are saying to you is the well-being that you've been asking for because of the contrast that you've been living is the very thing that has put the sustaining of life on planet Earth into a place that you can count on. Every time you see something or read something that makes you fearful of your physical well-being, it puts more of the eternalness in your eternity. And the good news is, since each of you make your decision to come back as future generations from inside the vortex, you never bring any of those fears or concerns with you, which means that the balance of your physical planet is always one of enormously focused well-being. In short, we're just saying to you that the things that you find to fuss and worry about are only the things that you use to stir up more stuff to put into your vortex. But they are a figment of your imagination. You have the ability to conjure images that feel good now or conjure images that don't feel good now. And the heaven or hell that you are experiencing right here. And what it is the vibrational relationship between who you really are and that which you are allowing yourself to be here and now. This life for you over the next days, weeks, months, and years will be as good to you as you will allow it to be. If you will practice your conversation as best you can from inside the vortex, those who are around you will stand in awe and amazement at the universal forces' cooperation in helping your world to be the outstanding one that you have conjured. You didn't come forth to be the only one living that magnificent life. And through the clarity of your example, as so many of you said sitting here, you will inspire many others to the same. There could not be more love for you or more appreciation for that which you are. We want to say to you that without exception, you are living the intention that you came forth to live. And we want you to understand and to feel, if only in part, because it's a big thing for you to feel in its entirety. We want you to feel the appreciation that the source within you feels and knows for the important part of the expansion of the universe that you are involved in here. And as someone wisely said to us, it is thrilling to us to know that you are not among those that will have to wait until you croak to know the power of your creation. There is great love here for you. And as always, we remain infinitely, eternally, and blissfully in the vortex.